Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that you won't watch on YouTube, namely where Naruto roasts Kushina and Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my Boosty channel at the link in the description.
Bright rays of the setting sun penetrated into the Hokage's office, overcoming the obstacle represented by the drawn blinds. A woman with wheat-colored hair sat at the table and stared at one point. On her table lay papers, or rather applications for new missions. And not for simple shinobi, but for ANBU, because an ordinary ninja, even of the highest class, would hardly cope with this. A wind came from nowhere, blew some reports off the table, which distracted the Hokage from thinking about life. "You called us, Hokage-sama?" In front of the table stood a girl dressed in an ANBU uniform, with a katana on her back and a mask in the shape of a cat's face. Her dark blonde long hair was gathered in a high ponytail. To the right of the girl stood a tall, stately guy, in exactly the same uniform as the girl, with the same sword on his back. The young man's face was hidden by a mask in the shape of a fox's face. Wheat-colored hair stuck out in different directions. "You can take off your masks here, Naruto, Suzumu," the woman rose from the table. "A new request has been received for several S-rank missions. Naruto, your squad will take this one," the woman handed the young man a stack of papers, "and you, Suzumu, go with yours on this one." Another stack was handed to the girl. "The main thing to remember is that in the end and in the beginning, you work together." "Any questions?" "No," the ANBU members answered in unison. Dismissed, Tsunade turned to the window. She knew the essence of these missions, and she was not happy about it. Not everyone can cope with a time error. But Naruto, Suzumu Jinchuriki, and very strong shinobi. They can handle it, or at least they should. At the core of ANBU today was not calm. Of course, both captains were summoned to her by the Hokage. This rarely happened. A whisper went through the crowd that perhaps the village was in some kind of danger again, but then ordinary shinobi would already be running around the streets, trying to protect their father's house. The shinobi could only guess and wait for the return of the captains, who, by the way, had already arrived. "Squad Yamada," a loud female voice was heard, separated from the Uzumaki people, and stood so that I could see you. On a small elevation, in front of a crowd of ANBU members, the same girl who was in the Hokage's office appeared. Taking off her mask, she looked around at those present with a frowning look of blue eyes. "We are delving into the task, not far from the borders of Konoha, something like a time trap has appeared. Our task is to catch everyone and everything who has penetrated our world from the past or the future. We will conduct the end and beginning of the mission together with Naruto's squad. Is the goal clear?" "Yes, Taicho." Someone from the crowd turned out to be the loudest. Yamada Taicho, what should we do?" Naruto's squad sincerely did not understand what was required of them. "And you and I must seal the portal that has formed. And, probably, find those who opened it." Naruto stood next to Suzumu, took off his mask and, looking around the crowd with an equally gloomy look, continued. "But our most important task is not to fall into this trap, otherwise it will be bad. Is everything clear to everyone? That's great. We'll leave in an hour." "Naruto," the brunette tugged the guy's hand, "are we doing as planned? Do you really want Sakura to come with us? Our medics are quite strong." "Suzumu-san, I don't want her to come with us because of this," the blonde looked at her sadly. "You see, I have a bad feeling." "Are you afraid that you won't have time to say goodbye? Are you afraid that she might be injured? She's just a shinobi." Yamada looked meaningfully at the guy. "If so, then go now and do everything you've planned. I think I'll follow your example too. Do you even know where he is?" Uzumaki grinned, putting on his mask. "I'll find it," Suzumu smiled, adjusting her slipped mask. "I'm an ANBU captain, after all." Sakura was at the hospital, helping the doctors and medical ninjas. The Chunin exam had recently taken place, and there were a lot of casualties. While bandaging another half-shinobi, the girl noticed a familiar head in the crowd of victims. "Naruto." She raised her hand and waved, "I'm here." "I know," came from behind the girl. "How are you? You're not on a mission? You have free time? And you didn't tell me?" The pink-haired girl put her hands on her hips and glared at the guy. Sakura-chan, I don't have any free time, Naruto began softly. I came to say goodbye. We were given a difficult mission, and you'll come back. Sakura hugged Naruto, making him shudder nervously. You'll definitely come back, Naruto. I'll try, the guy smiled, hugging the girl to himself. Kakashi was found on the training field. What he was doing there remained a mystery to Suzumu, because when she found him, he was reading as usual. I came to say goodbye, Kakashi-san. The girl froze in front of the copy ninja. After all, he still made her knees tremble. You'll come back, why say goodbye again? The man tore himself away from the pages of the book and looked at the girl strangely. But still, good luck to you. Thank you, Kakashi-san, Yamada smiled, although it was not visible because of the mask. How many times have I asked you to just call me Kakashi? Go already, Taicho, or you'll be late. After listening to Hataki's advice, the girl disappeared, because there was very little time left. So, Fox, are you ready? Suzumu straightened her white cloak and pulled the hood over her head. In the light of the deathly pale moon, she looked more than mesmerizing. And you, Kisa? The aforementioned Fox put on a mask and looked into the distance. Have you already agreed? Yes, Nibby agrees. The girl followed her partner's example and put on a mask. You know, I've only been a Jinchuriki for half a year, and Kat and I have already gotten along. Is that how it should be? Or is that not normal? You couldn't get along with Kyubi for so long, and here I am. Suzumu-san, Uzumaki turned his head towards the girl. You are a very talented kunoichi. Everything is fine. And now, I need to come to an agreement with Kyubi, otherwise it will be bad. Okay, I'll shut up. Yamada raised her hands and stepped aside, leaning against the wall of a nearby building. She had the same bad feeling as Naruto. These missions were difficult, few could handle them. Meanwhile, while the Blue Death was pondering life and the problems of existence, the Golden Fox of Konohagakure was immersed in his own world, trying to establish contact with his beast. Kurama, the boy called out to the nine-tailed beast quietly. Kurama, where are you? Uzumaki looked around. Nothing had changed in his inner world, well, almost nothing. There was no longer a seal on the cage. What do you want, Naruto? The fox's loud, slightly hoarse voice rang out. Show up. Tell me, what did you want? Kyubi appeared in front of the guy in all his glory, yawning demonstratively. We're going on a mission, so get ready and show up right away, please, otherwise things will be tough for us. The purpose of the mission? Kurama put his front paws forward and stretched. Close the time trap. Remember, a long time ago, we went on a mission to Rurin? It will probably be something like this. The guy shook off the dirt from his cloak, visible only to him. Did you say goodbye to Sakura? No, Naruto raised his head and looked into the fox's cunning eyes. I promised her I'd come back. Hey, Suzumu-senpai, Uzumaki shook the brown-haired girl by the shoulder, pulling her out of a slight slumber. Everything is ready. We can move out. What kind of senpai am I to you, Uzumaki? The girl adjusted her mask, which had slipped a little. Since everything is ready, then let's go. Yamada rose to her feet and looked around, hoping to see the man for whom she had actually stayed in ANBU at the gates of Konohagakure. But no, this time the girl was in for a disappointment. There was none. Uzumaki also looked back, but neither Sakura nor Granny Tsunade were there. Exhaling loudly, the guy pushed off and took off. Tree branches blocked the way, forcing the group of shinobi to move slowly and carefully so as not to make unnecessary noise. The cold moon illuminated the ninjas' path, drawing strange patterns from their shadows. The two ANBU captains ran ahead, leading a small army behind them. When they reached a huge old oak tree, the captains scattered in different directions. The rest of the shinobi, splitting into two groups, followed their captains. Uzumaki Taicho, next to the guy in the white cloak and mask with a fox face, his subordinate in a black cloak and mask depicting a wolf face appeared. We will be there soon, what are your orders? I'll tell you when we arrive, but for now, don't break formation. After the war with Madara, Naruto changed a lot, you could say he grew up. His views on life changed a little, and he began to take missions more seriously. Only 3 things in his life have not changed: his love for Sakura Haruno, the pink-haired kunoichi, his dream of becoming Hokage, and, of course, ramen. Yes, of course, becoming an ANBU captain at 16 is very cool, but still, Hokage is better. Uzumaki Taicho, the guy in the wolf mask, didn't want to lag behind Naruto. We have arrived. What are your instructions? Spread out across the area, the young man braked abruptly. Hokumo, follow me. The rest of you, don't let anyone near the portal. Well, Kurama, get ready, on your marks, get set, let's go. Blue Death, a nickname given to Suzumu because Matatabi was trapped inside her. There will be an extensive explanation below. Golden Fox is the nickname given to Naruto for being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Hokumo, seal it. Uzumaki pulled out a katana from behind his back. There's not much time. We'll have to try. Taicho, the guy in the eagle mask, stood in front of the open portal, seemingly almost imperceptible, just a small distortion of space, seemingly just a small vibration of air. You can't seal this quickly. I need at least an hour. An hour? The ANBU captain turned around in surprise. It was unlikely that his squad would last an hour. As it turned out, Suzumu and her people had done everything possible to ensure that there were as few fugitive bad guys from other times as possible. But during this time, the time travelers decided that it was time to return and rushed in a friendly crowd to the portal, where they ran into Naruto's squad. Now, the second ANBU captain was rushing to the rescue of Uzumaki along with her people. Uzumaki Taicho, behind you. Hokumo didn't have time to do anything except warn the Jinchuriki about the impending danger. The enemy's kunai blocked the enemy's sword, with a blue ribbon on the handle. Suzumu stopped in front of Naruto. Having parried the blow, the girl turned around. Are we late? Although it was not visible because of the mask, it was audible that Yamada was smiling. Very timely, the Ninetales Jinchuriki exhaled. Well then, let's fight, Naruto. After these words, an incredible battle broke out near the portal. The blood of the ANBU opponents flowed like a river, while Hokumo tried to close the portal as quickly as possible. The two captains fought back to back, covering the boy. Everyone wanted to get back, none of them should fall. Suzumu-san, turn around. Naruto jumped up and knocked down another opponent. Having parried the blow from which Suzumu could have died, Naruto made a fatal mistake. He found himself dangerously close to the portal, into which he began to be drawn. Naruto. Yamada dropped her sword and reached for it, her voice breaking treacherously. She almost reached it, but the funnel closed faster, leaving a confused Hokuma and Suzumu on the verge of hysteria alone. The girl dropped her hands and fell to her knees in front of the place where Naruto had stood just a few seconds ago. She picked up the sword that lay next to her and raised her head. Kill everyone. No one should be left alive. That was the order of the ANBU captain. Now, the only one. Unexpectedly for everyone except Yamada, a fiery blue tail began to appear behind her. God forbid, if any of you get in my way, I will destroy you. With these words, the girl, succumbing to animal instincts, ran somewhere deep into the forest, noticing movement and the enemy's chakra there. The bright moon shone right into Naruto's eyes, preventing him from falling asleep. Someone's gentle warm hands ran over his face and ruffled his hair. And then it became warm and cozy, as it had never been before. By the characteristic creak of the floorboards, half asleep Naruto realized that the owner of the gentle hands had left the room. Having stretched sweetly, Uzumaki turned over to his other side and was about to give in to sleep, since the moon no longer bothered him, when he suddenly jumped up. Realizing that he was on a mission, and even if he was at home, no hands could caress him, the young man looked around in horror. Naruto found himself in a small room, with not a lot of things. A standard built-in closet, a small chest of drawers, with a strange table lamp on it and a vase of flowers. In the corner stood a desk, with a stack of papers on it and a jar of ink. Near the chest of drawers hung a full-length mirror. Uzumaki himself was sitting on a bed made up with white sheets. Nothing unusual, except that the room was not his, and he saw it for the first time in his life. The quiet creak of the floorboards announced that someone was coming towards his room, but the guy was so deep in thought that he did not notice a small, nimble figure slipping into his room and freezing in the shadow of the closet. With small, confident steps, the figure moved towards the bed. Why aren't you sleeping? Leaning forward quickly, the figure's face was right next to Naruto's. Screaming in surprise, the Jinchuriki jumped away from the laughing girl who had settled down on his bed. "Who are you?" The guy looked in surprise at the girl who had so brazenly disturbed his peace. "Why aren't you awake yet, Naruto?" The girl wiped away her tears and looked at the young man with no less surprise. And then Naruto realized that he was looking at this girl and seeing himself, or rather himself, who had used a perverted technique. The person had bright blue eyes and long blonde hair, gathered into two high ponytails. "It's me, Kin," the girl pouted her lips offendedly. "Yeah, sorry, Kin," Naruto smiled, "I really haven't woken up yet. I didn't recognize you." "This happens to you often." The resentment was erased from the girl's face by a smile, sincere and somehow happy. "I came to say good night." Good night." Struck by such a strange dialogue, Uzumaki didn't know what else to say. "Well, I'm going, see you tomorrow." The girl jumped up and flew out of the room. As soon as the door closed behind Kin, Naruto jumped out of bed and began to frantically rush around the room. He couldn't concentrate on one thought. It seemed that the night had specially arranged everything so that he woke up in an unfamiliar room with some unknown girl, who looked like two peas in a pod like him. It was unthinkable. The boy froze abruptly in front of the mirror, horrified. A sleepy 13-year-old boy with yellow, tousled hair was staring at him in surprise from the reflection. "Your mother," he cursed. The boy in the mirror repeated his movement. "Kurama, we're in trouble. We're in a new past." Commentary on Popatinets. Part 1. New past. In short, the author thought about it and decided. The application says that Itachi can know Naruto's secret, but what if his sister finds out the secret? No one will be against it, I think. The new becomes old, then the years will fly by and the old will be replaced by the new, so it was, so it will always be. Rudaki. Godame Hokage time. Konohagakure. Morning. The silence of the morning Konoha was both astonishing and frightening. Tired and angry members of the ANBU walked along the still empty streets. The leader of this procession was none other than the captain of this unit, Suzumu Yamada, the Jinchuriki of Matatabi. The girl's once white cloak was torn and smeared with dried blood. The mask, depicting the face of a cat, was cracked and crumbled in some places, revealing the grief-stricken, empty eyes of the captain. Having brought the people to the Hokage's residence and silently giving the signal, the girl dismissed the troops, giving them the opportunity to rest. Slowly continuing on her way. Yamada looked ahead impassively, not noticing anyone or anything. Having climbed up to the floor she needed rather quickly, Suzumu suddenly stopped, or rather, someone pulled her hand, forcing her to stop. Slowly turning around, the girl saw Kakashi Hatake, better known as the copy ninja of Konoha. "I told you that you would come back." He calmly looked into the girl's eyes. "Did something happen? Where is Naruto?" "Kakashi-san," was the only thing the girl could whisper before she burst into tears. Yamada's legs gave way, and if it weren't for Hatake's support, she would have collapsed to the floor like a sack of potatoes. As it was, Suzumu found herself in Kakashi's arms, which on a normal day she could only dream of, but not now. Now, heartbroken, she sobbed on the shoulder of her mentor and friend, mourning Uzumaki who had fallen because of her. "Suzumu, get up, come on, girl, let's go." The man stroked the girl's head, trying to somehow calm her down. "Let's go, tell us everything." "I can't," Yamada sobbed, still getting to her feet. "I can't tell Sakura. He promised her he would come back. It was me, it's all because of me." Suzumu's voice broke into a hysterical scream. The noise that spread through the corridor of the empty residence brought out a few workers, among whom was the aforementioned person with pink hair and her immediate sensei, Gondame Hokage. "Kakashi, Suzumu, what happened?" The fifth's loud voice rang out, stopping the Jinchuriki sobbing for a moment. "Tsunade-sama." Suzumu pulled the mask off her face. "Sakura," she sobbed, seeing the worried girl. Naruto was sucked into the funnel. Yondaime Hokage time. Konohagakure. Morning. "So, Kurama, what are your thoughts on this matter?" Naruto froze in front of the huge fox. "That you screwed everything up as always, and we got sucked into the portal," Hyubi responded phlegmatically. "So, in your opinion, I'm the last one?" Uzumaki immediately got angry, ready to rush into battle at any moment. We'll figure out who's the last one and who's not when we get home, but now we can't give ourselves away. Look around, figure out what's what, and generally consider this a normal mission. The main thing is to remember, there are 2 of us and we are strong. That's true, the boy smiled, we are strong. A 13-year-old boy with yellow hair sticking out in all directions sat motionless on his bed, crossing his legs. The morning sun illuminated the small room in which, in fact, sat Uzumaki Naruto, a time traveler from another time. Naruto was torn from his dialogue with Kyubi no Yoko by the loud voice of his new sister, who informed him that it was time to get up. Lazily getting out of bed, the boy walked to the closet and reluctantly opened it. There was a lot of clothing, but his attention was drawn to a bright orange suit with blue inserts and a white high collar. Wow! Just like mine! Naruto exclaimed, taking out the suit. Of course, like you, a soft female voice rang out. Turning around, Uzumaki saw a woman standing in the doorway. Bright red long hair covered her lower back and buttocks. Mom? The boy whispered quietly and took a couple of steps towards the woman, but Kyubi froze abruptly and didn't let him go any further, making it clear that he would give them away, or be considered a fool. Of course I am, the woman smiled, go down, father and kin are already downstairs. Having quickly dressed, the boy ran down the stairs, not believing his luck mom and dad were alive. And indeed, at the small dining table sat none other than the Yondaime Hokage himself. The 4th was reading a newspaper, sipping coffee at the same time. Nearby, gnawing on a cookie, sat Kin. Even the girl's costume was the same as Naruto's, only a female version, shorts instead of breeches, and a tank top instead of a t-shirt. Mom, which team would be better to get into? Kin looked up from eating her breakfast, and waving her hand at Naruto, looking at Kushina. You finish your studies first, Bloody Habanero grinned. Naruto, why are you frozen? You'll be late for the academy. Did you hear, Kurama? That means I'm about 12 or 13 years old. That's something. Let's continue, Naruto. Having quickly finished the food offered by their mother and exchanged a few phrases with their father, the twins ran out into the street, running as fast as they could to the academy. As it turned out, not only the heirs of the Uzumaki clan were late, but also a couple of people, such as Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino. Having greeted Kin and Naruto in a friendly manner, the girls slipped inside, delaying the guys. Faster, Naruto, the girl urged her brother, otherwise Iruka-sensei will scold you. The boys flew into the classroom right in front of the sensei's nose. Having sat down at one of the last desks, the heirs of the Namikaze clan fell silent. The Shojis went their separate ways, and Iruka-sensei entered the classroom. The boys greeted each other, and only Naruto, carried away by the thought that the boys in his time remained the same and had not changed at all, remained silent. Also, the Jinchuriki did not hear the roll call that Iruka was conducting, and only his sister's sharp elbow helped the boy return to reality. Namikaze Kin and Namikaze Naruto. Hee. The girl shouted loudly and smiled radiantly. When the teacher went further down the list, Kin frowned and looked strangely at her brother. Naruto, what's wrong with you today? She whispered angrily. You're kind of weird. You didn't recognize me, you're thoughtful, that's not like you. Kin, can I trust you? The boy looked at his twin with a depressed expression. PFF, what kind of questions? The girl pouted, offended, just like last night, of course you can. What happened? Curiosity got the better of her offense, and the girl prepared to listen with interest. Today after school, preferably at night, we need to meet, outside the house, so that mom and dad don't find out. I have a couple of questions for you. What, did you fall? The fox raged, rushing around the cage. Are you seriously deciding to tell our secret to this girl? You've known for 3 hours at most. Blockhead. The Ninetales' paw stuck out between the bars and swung at Naruto. As it approached the guy, the Kyubi's paw became smaller and smaller until it reached the size proportional to the Jinchuriki. Having hit Uzumaki on the forehead, Kurama snorted with satisfaction and retreated into the depths of the cage. Oi, ta. The time traveler rubbed the bruised spot and looked angrily at Biju. She's my sister, I thought I could tell her everything. Idiot, Kyubi rolled his eyes. You saw her for the second time in your life and you're already going to tell her all your secrets? Since you've already called her, think about what you want to ask her while you still have time. Naruto, Naruto, Kin whispered angrily, shaking her brother, who she thought was asleep. Wake up already. The girl finally couldn't stand it, pushing the boy hard. I'm not sleeping, Kin. Naruto shouted, already fed up with his sister's constant pestering. Can't I think anymore? No, sorry, the girl blinked rapidly, and then, shaking her head, flew out of the classroom. What are you shouting about, Naruto? The girl with long pink hair looked at her classmate in surprise. Apologized to Kin immediately. Sorry, Sakura-chan, but this is between Kin and me. Having said this, Naruto ran out of the classroom. Kin was sitting on the swing, Naruto's once favorite place. The girl's blue eyes were empty, as if all the joy had been sucked out. It seemed like she was about to burst into tears. Kin? The boy said quietly, squatting down next to his sister. Kin, forgive me. You never yelled at me, Nii-san. The girl lowered her head even lower, her long blonde bangs covering her face. I'm sorry, Kin, I don't know what came over me. What happened, Naruto? Someone's sarcastic voice was heard. Your little sister is crying, did someone dare to hurt her? Wild laughter was heard after these words. What do you want? The Jinchuriki instantly became furious, rising to his feet and shielding Kin with his body. Namikaze, have you lost your fear? The main one of the guys who bullied the heirs of the fourth Hokage stepped forward. There was an agreement. Whatever agreement there was before, it won't happen now. Naruto growled. Get out. What? The bald-headed man drawled. Hachiro-san, did you hear what he said? Yes, the leader drawled, and now he's going to pay for it. But before Hachiro could take a couple of steps towards Naruto and Kin, a powerful blow to the stomach knocked him off his feet. The next kick went to the bald-headed guy. The rest of the GOP company didn't interfere. So, is there an agreement? Naruto looked angrily at the carcass lying at his feet. If you come near Kin again, I'll kill you, got it? Mumbling something unintelligible, Hachiro and his company ran in different directions, no matter where, as long as they were away from the offspring of the Yondaime Hokage. Well, Kin, am I forgiven? Naruto smiled brightly and looked at his quiet sister. Impressive, a familiar female voice rang out. How long have you been fighting like this? Naruto turned around and froze with his eyes wide open. Suzumu Yamada stood before him, though a little different than in his time. The future Jinchuriki's hair was shorter, and she looked younger. Over her usual light blue short dress, she wore a black vest, the same length as the dress itself. A protector with the Konoha emblem was tied to her belt. Suzumu-san? Naruto smiled, did I impress you? Maybe a little, the girl smiled. She rarely smiles now, Naruto thought sadly, letting his acquaintance pass, except maybe in the presence of Kakashi-sensei. Why are you crying, Kin? Look, your brother protected you. You should be proud of that. She crouched down in front of Kin and wiped her tears. Yes, I'm proud, but he's not my brother, the girl laughed, this Naruto is too different. That's good, Suzumu looked at the girl in surprise, that means Naruto has grown up. Kami-sama, the girl threw up her hands, let's quickly run to class, otherwise Iruka-sensei will scold us. After listening to the advice of an experienced shinobi, the boys ran to the classroom just in time. Iruka came in right after them. Naruto, Kin called as soon as they were seated. Where did you learn to fight like that? That's why I'm calling you today. I want you to be able to stand up for yourself too. Then I can't wait for the evening, the girl squealed enthusiastically and, shining like a copper basin, began to listen to the sensei, while Naruto was immersed in his thoughts. I got out of it, Kurama. I remember all my techniques and tricks, I just need to practice and remember. Maybe I'll teach Kin something too. Excellent, the fox answered dispassionately, not even looking at his Jinchuriki. We didn't fall asleep before time. Kurama, Naruto became extremely serious. About the summoning technique. I didn't make a contract with the toads here. I can do this, but toads can't open passages to other times. Fool, it's unlikely that some summoned animals can open portals. You met Susumu Yamada. Ask her, she's a member of ANBU, even though she's not a captain. Or Kakashi, you'll meet him soon. According to my calculations, you'll soon find yourself in your own team. Oh, by the way, I haven't seen Sasuke. And then an idea came into the crazy head of the Hokage's son. Listen, maybe I can stop Sasuke from leaving the village here? Fool, the fox hit Naruto, reducing his paw again. We can't change the course of history, even though this is a parallel world. Sorry, Naruto, but if Sasuke leaves, you shouldn't stop him. The remaining lessons flew by completely unnoticed. Anticipating the upcoming communication with mom and dad, Naruto did not listen to the monotonous speeches of the sensei at all, only occasionally glancing at him. Namikaze already knew all the techniques that Iruka taught them, and he had already gone through them more than once. Now he was interested in something more important and powerful, namely, how he could remember all his techniques without attracting attention to himself. Hey, Kurama, Naruto looked up at the fox, do you think I can learn my father's techniques? Do you want to? The nine-tailed responded dispassionately. The prospect of learning something new did not please the Bija very much. Of course there is. You know me. That's why I'm asking. Uzumaki Namikaze was informed that the school day was over by his sister's sharp elbow, which hit the boy right in the ribs. Kin, can I ask you one thing? The blonde croaked, rubbing the bruised area. About what? The twin smiled carefreely, throwing a strand of light hair behind her back. Stop poking me in the ribs, please, Naruto laughed, getting up from his desk. In the next few minutes, the streets of Konohagakure were filled with students from the Ninja Academy, who were running home as fast as they could. Naruto and Kin Namikaze were also in this crowd, who were also in a hurry to get home, especially Naruto. He still couldn't believe that his parents were alive, that they hadn't died in the battle with his current friend. Kin, Naruto stopped near a high wooden fence that stretched to the end of the block. Can I ask a stupid, but terribly interesting question? The boy frantically tried to remember if there was such a fence in his native Konoha, but, alas, his memory threw up memories of a completely different landscape. There was no fence in the Konohagakure where Naruto came from, as far as he could remember. Go ahead, the sister graciously allowed. What does this fence enclose? What is it fencing off? Kin looked at her brother in amazement, but realizing that he was not joking, she only exhaled loudly. Behind this fence is the Uchiha estate, Naruto. Have you forgotten? You noticed, I'm not myself today, the boy smiled with effort, and shouting something joyfully, quickly walked towards the house. Only not his parents, but his own, dear one. Moron, Naruto said inside. The fox grinned and continued what he was doing, namely, brazenly interrupting Naruto's sleep. Naruto, Kin remained standing. Of course, I understand everything, but the house is on the other side. Ahahaha, Uzumaki Namikaze laughed loudly and artificially as usual. I was testing you. Idiot, the girl whispered and trudged after her fleeing brother. Mom, we're here. Kin announced to her household with a loud cry. Wash your hands and have dinner, quickly. Kushina's equally loud cry was heard. Following his sister, Naruto did not immediately notice the yellow-haired man sitting at the table and reading a book. The Yondaime Hokage, in turn, watched his son and smiled. While the children were not around, Minato looked at his wife and still dared to ask the question that had been bothering him for the whole day. Darling, don't you think Naruto has changed somehow? I don't think so, the woman smiled mysteriously. Her husband couldn't see her face, so she didn't have to worry about Naruto's secret being revealed. Hi, Mom, Dad, Kin flew into the room like a golden whirlwind and plopped down on a chair. What are we having for dinner? As usual, smiled Kushina, habitually kissing her daughter on the top of her head. Naruto, don't mess around there. Quickly, to the table. Why yes, Mom, I'm on my way. The blonde stood at the threshold of the kitchen, not daring to enter. Excitement filled the boy's heart. Finally, exhaling, he entered the small, bright room. Hi, Dad. Uzumaki Namikaze sat down on the chair opposite his father. Hello, son, the Hokage smiled. How are things at the academy? Oh, yeah, I'm the same as usual, Dad, the boy hesitated. Saying Mom and Dad was unusual for him, and he wanted to enjoy this moment. Don't listen to him, Dad. Kin joined the conversation. Naruto drove away Hachiro and his guys today. He stood up for me, can you imagine? He hit Hachiro like this. The girl tried to imitate Naruto's hit while sitting on a chair, and the second one like this, and then ew. As a result, Naruto and Minato burst into laughter. Kin is lying on the floor, and Kushina, trying to keep her cool, tries to help her daughter get up. Be careful, honey, said the fourth, wiping away his tears. Are you hurt? No, Dad, everything's great, Kin smiled as if nothing had happened. Naruto, did you really stand up for your sister? Now the Hokage's intense blue eyes were fixed on his eldest son. Well, yes, that happened, the boy looked down. Well done, the Hokage's heavy palm fell on Naruto's head. This is exactly what you should expect from the future Hokage. Thanks, Dad, the blonde smiled. His father's praise was like balm for the boy's soul. Mom, what do you say? Naruto smiled at his father and turned towards Kushina. And I will say that, despite the fact that you are a great guy, you need to be more careful. Hachiro is older and stronger than you. But I am still very proud of you. Bloody Habanero kissed her son on the cheek and placed the main dish on the table, sitting down next to her husband. Enjoy your meal, everyone. Dinner flew by. During the evening meal, the Yondaime Hokage continued to ask the children about their affairs at the academy, worried that one of them might fail the final exam. But Kin, thank God for her big mouth, painted everything in the most beautiful colors for her father and mother. She knew that both she and her older brother would pass the exams. But what surprised the girl that evening was, perhaps, that both her father and mother were interested in her brother's school affairs for the first time. Her parents had long ago forgotten about him, devoting their attention only to her and placing their hopes only on her, Kin. And then, her father even said that Naruto would become the future Hokage. It was strange, but at the same time it scared the girl. Not forgetting about the training Naruto had promised her that night, the girl wandered into the room, deciding at all costs to ask her brother about what had happened to him. Something had changed her brother overnight, and Kin Namikaze would not be Kin Namikaze without knowing what it was. Godame Hokage time. Konohagakure. Evening. Exhausted Suzumu slowly trudged along the already empty street of her native village, which hated her so fiercely. Rarely did children run past the girl, laughing mischievously. For now, they don't know what kind of monster they were running past. Who they greeted cheerfully and who they considered their idol, just like Naruto Uzumaki, who disappeared last night. A noise nearby distracted the girl from thinking about how to get Naruto back home as quickly as possible. The fifth said to wait for her order, but Jinchuriki Matatabi did not want to wait. She knew that at least 4 people would follow her. But there was one problem. No one knew what time Uzumaki was in now. This was what worried the girl the most. Yamada stopped and listened. The plaintive squeak of a cat and the loud hum of children frightened the girl. She knew what was happening. Breaking away from her place, the Jinchuriki ran towards the clearly audible sadistic children's laughter. She was already having trouble controlling herself. Everything had suddenly come at her. Naruto's disappearance, the monster children torturing the poor animal, and the alien, barely perceptible chakra. Suzumu barely remembered what she had done. She remembered that she had chased away the boys who were throwing stones at a small, defenseless kitten. She remembered how one of them had shouted something insulting at her. She remembered that she had taken the kitten home, and then, darkness. Everything was swimming before her eyes, but she stood there, holding tightly onto someone's hand. Realizing what she might have done, the girl suddenly opened her eyes and looked at her hands, afraid to see someone else's blood on them. No, thank God, they were clean. She looked up. In front of her stood her friend and mentor, Hatake Kakashi, who was trying to shout something at her. What happened? The girl said slowly, as if in slow motion. I found someone. I need you to come with me. Sakura, Sai, and Sasuke are already there. What's going on with you anyway? Yes, okay, said Suzumu, frowning. But can we go to my house first? I need to treat the kitten. A kitten? Hatake looked at her in surprise. Yes, I found him. Yamada had already come to her senses and was rushing towards the house. He's dying, Kakashi. Okay. Just quickly. Yandame Hokage time. Kanahagakur. Evening. It was quiet in the Namake's household. Even though it was still early in the morning, Kin and Naruto wanted to go to bed early, citing that they were tired from the academy. Locking himself in the room, Naruto sat in the center, crossing his legs and freezing. Kurama, what about Sage Mode? Uzumaki Namikaze looked questioningly at his friend. Have you forgotten? What the hell kind of sage are you? You don't have a contract with the Toads, muttered the fox, who had already been brazenly woken up for the 4th time that day. Exo, the guy spat angrily and thought. Then what should I do? I won't be able to create a clone so that mom and dad won't notice the substitution. Somehow I used to create without a regime, but now you can't. Come on. Naruto. Just try. Obeying the kitsune, the boy opened his eyes wide. Shadow clone technique, the boy exclaimed, making a seal. An exact copy of him appeared next to him, let out a loud yelp, and sat down on the floor with all his might. It worked. The Jinchuriki yelled, looking at the shadow clone. Quiet, you blockhead, the fox growled, once again surprised by his Jinchuriki. So, Naruto began the briefing, I'm going with Kin, and you stay here. Go to bed. Try not to talk to mom or dad. Got it? I'm not stupid, the clone snorted resentfully. Okay, sorry. That's it, I'm off. Good luck. Having climbed out the window, the boy quietly walked along the ledge to the next room and knocked softly on the window. Literally a couple of minutes later, the window opened, and Kin stuck her head out, tying an elastic band on her second whitish tail. Already? The girl raised an eyebrow in surprise. What, is it already 8:30? Yes, the boy smiled and extended his hand to his sister. I'm so worried, the girl exhaled, leaning on her twin's arm and climbing out of the house. And you? Are you worried? No, maybe just a little bit. Naruto, the girl slowed down and pointed forward in fear. It seems we have problems. Yandame Hokage's time. Kanahagakur. Night. Naruto followed his younger sister's gaze and gasped in surprise. A crowd of teenagers lined up in front of their house, led by those who had fallen to the boy's onslaught during the day. Oh, Namikaze, Hachiro shouted loudly, cracking his fists. And we were just about to come for you. Well, shall we see who's stronger? Kurama? Yes, I heard. No problem, Fatso, the boy chuckled, gesturing for his panicked sister to keep quiet. Jumping off the ledge, the blonde found himself in front of a group of thugs who had been so offended by his behavior during the day that they had even gone to his house. Well, get started, Hachiro, yeah? You called me fat? The guy roared and, giving the command to his guys, rushed at Naruto. Smiling widely, Uzumaki Namikaze jumped up and kicked the teenager with all his might. Hachiro let out a quiet yelp and fell to the ground, never reaching his target. Kin squealed quietly somewhere behind her, either from surprise or from fear. Now, everyone, shut up and calm down this minute, someone, whose voice was very similar to his father, grabbed Naruto by the elbow and, yanking him back, pulled him away from the red as a lobster Hachiro. Hokage-sama? The fat man stammered, taking a few steps back. Sorry, Hokage-sama, the boy bowed from the waist. We won't do it again. Of course you won't do that again, Minato spoke calmly, but in this false calm there was a hidden threat. I don't think you'll finish the academy. You must admit, it was very reckless to come to the Hokage's house and attack his son. I turned a blind eye to your antics before, only because Naruto asked me not to interfere. Now you won't get away with it so easily. And now, go away, the man looked menacingly at the trembling boys. Dad, why did you come? I would have sorted it out myself, Naruto struggled to break free from his father's tenacious hand. They wouldn't have come again. Kin, couldn't you have stopped him? Kin, get down from there, Namikaze Sr. ignored his son and quickly entered the house. After waiting for his sister to come down from the ledge, Naruto grabbed her hand and, narrowing his eyes angrily, led her into the house. Would you really drive them away? The girl turned around fearfully. No, they would have stayed here until the morning, the guy snorted, letting his sister go ahead. what was that? Kushina stood in the middle of the kitchen, menacingly placing her hands on her hips. Not only did you go somewhere at night, but also these, oh, I can't even find the words. The woman threw up her hands, and the hair on her head moved uncomfortably. Okay, you, Kin, but you, Naruto, where did you go? Kushina exhaled, probably deciding to leave all the showdown for the morning, and turned around. Now march to your rooms, both of you, and you are grounded. Until the end of the year. But, Mom, Kin leaned forward, but was stopped in time by her brother. No buts, Kin. This is not up for discussion. With these words the woman left, leaving the twins alone. To hell with it, Naruto hissed, I'll never get home. Hey, Naruto, don't be sad, Kurama encouraged the boy, climbing out of the inner cage. Let's go to bed, Kin said quietly, consider that we got off easy. As soon as Naruto stepped over the threshold of the room, all the fatigue that had accumulated during the day fell on him like an unbearable burden. And he also realized that his father had saved him from being revealed. If the Yondaime Hokage had not arrived in time, the time traveler would have revealed his power to Kin and those guys. But perhaps the most offensive discovery of the day was that his parents didn't believe in him. Those words from his mother, that look from his father when Kin said that he had beaten Hachiro. And he thought that in this universe everything would be different. Kurama, are you awake? Naruto found himself in front of the cage again. I'll fall asleep with you, the fox muttered, coming out of the shadows. What do you want? Promise me that you will help me prove to everyone here that Naruto Uzumaki can do a lot. The boy clenched his hands into fists. Looking at the Jinchuriki in surprise, Kyubi chuckled approvingly and, putting his right paw forward, nodded. Coming. Godame Hokage's time. Konohagakure. Night. Kakashi and Suzuma ran through the empty streets of Konoha, weaving between the rare and rather drunk passers-by. The pair ran out of the village unnoticed and headed towards the forest. The girl, carrying a small meowing kitten in her arms, found the path terribly familiar, which she shared with the copy ninja. Exactly, Hatake smiled through his mask, this is the way to the portal where Naruto disappeared. We'll be there soon. Team 7 is already there. And indeed, literally a few minutes later, Kakashi and Suzumu, with a kitten in their arms, found themselves in that same clearing in the middle of the forest where the portal had been closed the night before. Near a small pile of boulders, 3 people in ANBU suits were sitting, 2 guys and a girl. Where did you get them? Suzuma looked at the guys she had known for a long time in surprise, mechanically stroking the kitten behind the ear. Okay, Sai, it will be your fault if something happens to them. Okay, Suzumu-sama, the guy bowed his head as a sign of respect. Sakura, I am very ashamed to ask you for anything, but my kitten was hurt. Can you help me? The brunette looked pitifully at her charge. The third member of team number 7, the ANBU captain, pointedly did not notice. Of course, Suzumu-san, the pink-haired girl smiled, jumping off the stone. Show me the patient. Having handed the snow-white lump into the girl's hands, Yamada followed Kakashi to the boulders. What were you so eager to show me? In the bustle, the girl did not notice how she switched from Hatake to you. Not what, but who, the man chuckled. You felt his chakra, right? Commentary on stop. Start of training or it seems we have problems. Part 2. After a long break, the FIC will be continued. Someone there was so wildly indignant, here you go. The chapter has been rewritten. Please comment. Stop. Naruto is going crazy. Part 1 Godame Hokage's time. Outside Konohagakure. Night. Suzumu froze, looking at the man sitting in front of her in surprise. Yes, she really felt his chakra, but she never expected to see him. Naruto? She called softly. Naruto, is it really you? This isn't Naruto. Sasuke, who had been silent until then, spoke up. Well, more precisely, this isn't our Naruto. He came to us from the funnel where our Naruto was sucked in. Sakura, who had finished treating the kitten, approached them. Presumably, he is Naruto of the time where, well, our Naruto is now. Although, he could be from the future or the past. Why is he silent? He can't speak? Suzuma raised an eyebrow questioningly, twisting his lips into a smile. I can. The guy raised his head. Your Naruto now lives with my family. And they hardly value him there. Yandame Hokage's time. Konohagakure. Night. Despite the fatigue that had fallen upon him, Naruto was wide awake. Lying on his bed and looking at the ceiling, the boy thought. He knew that without outside help he would not be able to return home. He knew that if he had revealed himself then, he would have been in trouble. He also knew that the Naruto here was not particularly popular or respected. And then he decided that no matter what, he would show everyone what Naruto Uzumaki was made of. Naruto? There was a quiet knock on the door, and a minute later Minato appeared on the threshold. It's good that you're not sleeping. The fourth walked into the room and sat on the edge of the bed. Mom and I discovered something here. Can you help us figure it out? Naruto, shuddering with his whole body, swallowed convulsively and silently nodded, looking carefully over the threshold of his room, where Kushina stood, holding the hand of some boy. Darling, who is this? Kushina walked into the room, dragging Naruto's resisting clone by the hand. I'm in trouble, flashed through the mind of the time traveler. Idiot, Kyubi responded, sighing heavily. Well, you see, the boy looked down at the floor, well, Your shadow clone, right? Minato crossed his arms. Since when do you know that technique? Since when do you treat your son like that? Naruto looked at his father sullenly. I try to become stronger, better, I teach techniques, I protect my sister, and instead of simply praising me, you just look at me in surprise, as if I were hopeless. The Hokage looked at his son in surprise. What, is it hard to believe? The boy smiled bitterly, how great that you, besides me, also have kin. Wow, she has the power to become the next Hokage. But I'm tired of watching all this. I have a dream too. And whether you believe in me or not, I will still achieve it at any cost. Having formed the seal, Naruto removed the clone and, having walked around his silent mother, left the room, heading towards the kitchen. He's right, Minato. As soon as her son's steps died down on the first floor, Kushina walked to the bed and sat down opposite her husband. We put everything on kin, completely forgetting that Naruto is also our son. We need to react differently. God, we are just terrible parents. The woman lowered her head, covering her face with her hands. It's not too late to fix everything. Minato moved closer to his wife and hugged her shoulders. Damn, now, he was more confident than ever in his next steps. Go Dame Hokage's time. Outside Konohagakure. Night. So, Suzuma looked thoughtfully at the other Naruto. Are you some kind of loser from a parallel world? You can't say that, Suzumu. Kakashi shook his head. One way or another, he's Naruto, and a human being, first and foremost. Let's speak more softly. Yes, I apologize. The girl lowered her head. In any case, you need to be taken to the Hokage. She will decide what to do with him. In complete silence, the small company, as Sasuke dubbed it, reached the village. We'll go to Tsunade in the morning. Kakashi put his hands in his pockets. But someone will have to stay with Naruto. I'll stay. Sakura handed the kitten to Suzumu. Mom and Dad will be happy to have Naruto. They don't need to know the rest. It's decided, nodded Hatake. Tomorrow, at 9 in the morning at the residence. Good night everyone. With these words the man left. Stop. Naruto is going crazy. Part 2. Go Dame Hokage's time. Hokage's residence. Morning. Kakashi arrived at the residence at 9, everything was correct, as agreed. The morning sun was already mercilessly blazing, and the man, sighing heavily, hid under the awning of the nearest store, hoping that the bright daytime star would not reach him there. The villagers lazily crawled out into the street, slowly opening their shops and stores. The owner of the store, under whose awning Hatake stood, also soon arrived, and the copy ninja had to leave, because the man had no desire to start a quarrel so early in the morning. Good morning, Kakashi-san. Sasuke was always punctual, but today he was late. Sorry for being late. It's okay, Sasuke, the man sighed heavily. If we're lucky, we'll get together by 10. Or earlier, Suzumu, squinting in the sun, approached them. Good morning to you, sorry, I overslept. The kitten didn't let me sleep for half the night, he kept screaming and demanding something. I hope he's still alive, Kakashi chuckled sadly, let's go wait for them in the hall. No need, they're almost here, Sasuke squinted and looked somewhere behind Kakashi's back. Sorry, Sakura smiled guiltily, I'm the one who kept everyone waiting. What did your parents say, Sakura? Yamada smiled sweetly, did Naruto often stay overnight at your place? No, but they didn't find out, the girl smiled slyly, and where is Sai? He was given a mission, and unfortunately he can't come, Suzumu bowed her head, causing her long blonde hair to fall on her shoulders, I completely forgot to tell you. Please forgive me, she smiled guiltily, then clapped her hands, turned sharply and walked towards the Hokage's residence. And she still says something about seriousness, snorted Kakashi, heading after her friend, why are you standing there? Let's go. Smiling widely, Sakura took the other Naruto by the hand and, going around the always gloomy Sasuke, ran after the rapidly retreating senseis. Snorting, Uchiha slowly trudged after them, deciding that he would catch up with them anyway. When the last representative of the lost clan finally caught up with his comrades, they had already managed to reach the fifth's office and were now animatedly discussing something. The ringleader was, of course, the restless Yamada, who still could not calm down over the loss of Naruto. Seeing Sasuke slowly walking, she only snorted and, spinning on her heels, loudly knocked on the oak door. For a moment there was complete silence in the corridor. After the treasured come in, it seemed that everyone present exhaled. Pushing the door, Suzumu entered the office, and behind her the rest of the company, carefully hiding the other Naruto. Hokage-sama, Suzumu bowed, we apologize for disturbing you at such an early hour, but we have a very important matter. Oh my god, Suzumu, Tsunade winced, what's the point of all these pleasantries? Tell me quickly what happened, I have a lot of work to do. Or a lot of unfinished sake, Sakura looked reproachfully at the Hokage, you should at least air it out, Hokage-sama. Anyway, Yamada stepped forward, last night Kakashi's incomplete team found one person who might know a lot about the time Naruto ended up in. Just don't scream too much when you see him, okay? Tsunade nodded, suddenly serious. The other Naruto, pushed in the back by Kakashi, stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Who is this? Genjutsu? The fifth's brown eyes looked at Sakura carefully. No, Tsunade-sama. It's Naruto, only from that time. Well, if that's really the case, then let him tell me if he knows how to change them back. Yondaime Hokage time. Morning. Ninja Academy. Naruto decided to go to school alone. He felt terribly ashamed in front of his sister, he promised her training, but he himself had so shamefully screwed up. Kurama was right, he was a fool, a real fool. Naruto. A clear girl's voice called out to the boy, causing him to shudder with his whole body, and Kyubi, who had been dozing peacefully before, let out such a stream of choice Japanese swear words that Haiden himself would have been envious. As Sakura-chan? Uzumaki Namikaze looked at the girl approaching him in surprise. Running up to her friend, Sakura exhaled heavily. I saw you and decided that we could walk to the academy together. By the way, where is Kin? Well, I just decided to come early, the boy habitually threw his hands behind his head and smiled broadly. Sakura, after a moment's hesitation, burst into laughter. This is so unusual, the girl smiled, we never went to the academy together before. And you know, soon they will distribute us into teams. I would like to get into the same team with Sasuke-kun, and you could be there, she smiled again. For some reason, it seems to me that this will happen. Naruto looked thoughtfully into the distance, if this happens, then we will have the best team. Why if? Kurama yawned, you know that everything should be the same here. I don't think so, this is a different world, and to be honest, I'm not a Jinchuriki here, and you're sealed in my mother. The Uchihas are also alive, by the way. Everything is different here, and the teams may be different, Naruto looked at the fox sullenly. And I know who would like to be on the same team with you, Sakura suddenly said, looking mysteriously at her friend, Hinata has been pining for you for a long time, she laughed. You see, it's constant here. I'm the loser here, the guy snorted in response, finally leaving his subconscious. You're not very lucky there either, Kurama shouted at the end, settling down more comfortably again. By the way, have you learned all the techniques? Sakura stretched, warming up. Irika will test our abilities in the first lesson, the girl snorted at these words. Yes, I think I can surprise you all, Naruto smiled, to which Sakura looked at him in surprise. Why he was so sure of that, Sakura definitely didn't understand. She knew that Naruto tried to live up to the title of the Hokage's son, but it never worked out very well. And now, it was as if something had changed in him, as if he had started doing everything not for someone else, but for himself. And she liked that, definitely. Stop. Start of exams. Part 1 . A week and a half had passed since Naruto appeared in the new past. Everything seemed to be fine, he had a good family, and even made friends, but the newcomer still lacked something. Something still pushed him away from his parents, forcing him to go to his room every day right after dinner, tightly closing the door behind him. He rarely spoke to his father, exchanging a few work phrases over food, and he generally avoided his mother. Things were much worse with Kin, that annoying little brat. As if sensing the reluctance of her half-brother to communicate with anyone from the family, she pestered him more and more with all sorts of questions and conversations. And each time, in response to yet another stupid question, the girl was rewarded with a sullen look from blue eyes that had suddenly become so adult. Ashamedly biting her lower lip, the girl moved away and fell silent for a long time, and then everything started all over again. Naruto spent his free time after school in the forest, preparing for the upcoming exams. Remembering his failures from his past life, the little Jinchuriki decided that he would not allow that to happen in this world. Besides, it would be embarrassing for an ANBU captain to fail the Genin exam, or even worse, the Chunin exam. Hey, Kurama, Naruto's loud voice echoed through the huge corridor, knocking down dark drops from the leaking pipes. Don't you think that no matter how much I train, it's all in vain? I still can't make a clone. What does that mean? That means only one thing, you're a complete idiot, Naruto, the fox snorted, waving one of his 9 tails, if you really want to pass the exam without problems. Then be kind enough to start training properly. You started with the wrong thing, you get it? To be honest, not really, the boy looked at his friend sullenly. Oh, woe to you, Kyubi sighed heavily, your chakra channels are unstable, so I can't transfer chakra to you without worrying about your health. First, we need to develop them. Do you understand? By the way, your friend, the one from Uchiha, he developed them a long time ago and it will be awkward if the great hero of the 5 countries can't pass the Genin exam. It's a shame and a disgrace to be the bijou of such a shinobi. Shut up and help me. The boy put his hands in his pockets and looked at the tailed one with an offended expression. What should I do to develop channels? To be honest, I didn't really listen in class, neither in this life nor in the next. Well, let's try to create a normal double first, not that disgrace that happened last time. Concentrate, the fox's voice was lulling, but Naruto understood that if he relaxed now, everything would go down the drain. He understood and just nodded silently, allowing Kyubi to get into his head. Naruto closed his eyes and froze in one position. Kurama spoke, instructing his Jinchuriki, and Naruto imagined how chakra flows through his body, felt how each stream of it envelopes him, imagined how power fills him. That's it, Naruto, well done. The fox shouted encouragingly, continuing his instructions. Bunshin no Jutsu. Uzumaki Namikaze shouted, folding the seals. There was a small pop-in from the haze that appeared due to the effect of the technique. The second Naruto came out, smiling contentedly and completely normal. Try again, use Kage Bunshin. The fox fell silent, letting Naruto do his technique himself. The boy tensed, imagining how chakra filled every cell of his body. Familiar seals popped into his head. He remembered the moments when he used them for the first time, how he saved Irika, surprised, at least a little, Kakashi. Let's begin, Naruto smiled and made seals. Chakra literally overflowed him, the characteristic sound of creating clones was heard and in an instant Uzumaki felt an unprecedented lightness. Lightness that he had not felt for a long time. A small clearing that the boy had found especially for training was filled with identical, terribly noisy boys. Naruto jumped up with a joyful cry. He did it almost immediately. Hey, Kurama, Naruto smiled smugly and stared at the fox, and you said it wouldn't work. Look, it worked. I didn't say anything like that, Nine-tailed Fox waved it off, lazily opening one eye. He said something about chakra channels that need to be developed for a long time and so on. Uzumaki happily jumped in front of the cage, but I succeeded. You should have succeeded anyway, you're an ANBU captain, Kyubi snorted. Huh? What are you talking about? As always, it took the young Jinchuriki a long time to understand. The fact that your chakra channels were developed and ready for use, you yourself set barriers, more psychological than physical, the fox yawned. If you train, you can even do Rasengan. Not right away, of course, but it should work. So I can. Naruto immediately became serious, and if I find Jiraiya right after being assigned to teams? Maybe then I'll become a better ninja than there without any problems? We'll see, the fox sighed, once again surprised by such a sharp change in the mood of his Jinchuriki. Now practice something that doesn't require so much chakra. We shouldn't attract attention. Nodding, Naruto came out of the subconscious and, having made seals, removed the amused clones. Well, let's try throwing kunai and shuriken. By the way, I still haven't managed to master Senbon, the boy sighed, taking a weapon out of his bag. It's still good that my father is Hokage, he smiled, they give out weapons without any problems. Naruto oh. Sakura's loud voice made the boy shudder. For several mornings in a row, she had been scaring him with her loud greetings. Sakura had also been training, it was evident from her exhausted body, but despite this, she was sincerely happy to meet her classmate every time. Sakura-chan, Naruto smiled. Yesterday's training had left its mark, his body ached terribly and he wanted to sleep terribly. And his mother had pounced on him in the morning with questions about where he had been all evening and why he had come home so late. He had to lie that he had spent the whole evening with Shikamaru, to which he had received a condescending look from the woman. Today is the exam, are you ready? Sakura was almost jumping up and down with excitement. I'm terribly worried, what if I fail or something? Sakura-chan, calm down, Naruto laughed, you'll pass everything with flying colors. Oh, I hope you too, she smiled, where's Keen? Did you have a fight? What are you saying, Sakura? Suddenly a yellow hurricane swooped down on the friends, it's just that Naruto is independent. The girl burst into laughter, for which she received a poke in the ribs. It seemed that Sakura didn't notice anything, and simply laughed along with her friend, although the look in the Yondaime Hokage's daughter's eyes said one thing, Naruto wouldn't get rid of her so easily anymore. Stop. Start of exams. Part 2. Godame Hokage time. Konohagakure. Day. During the day, the narrow streets of Konoha were always full of people, and in this crowd, whether you like it or not, you can't help but run into acquaintances, even if you try your best to avoid meeting anyone. Suzumu Yamada, her long hair pulled back into a ponytail, walked leisurely past the shop windows. Today was one of the few days that Suzumu could dedicate to herself. Today was a day off. Suzumu stopped after passing a bookstore, where the Ika books were still on display. Next to the bookstore was a wedding store, where a new collection of snow-white dresses and traditional wedding kimonos had just recently arrived. Lately, Suzumu had been overcome by a manic idea to get married, but the only contender for the role of her husband could not understand this. And instead of trying on beautiful dresses, the woman could only look at them. What are we sighing about? A familiar voice sounded right next to my ear. What? Yamada turned around and saw Kakashi looking at the shop window with interest. She gasped, yes, I'm looking at the dresses. They're so pretty and not very expensive, but I have nowhere to wear them, she smiled. What are you doing here? Well, I was just walking and saw you. You were standing there looking so sad that I couldn't help but come up to you. Kakashi seemed to smile. By the way, would you like to keep me company? It's not very interesting to walk alone anyway. What is this, a date? Suzumu smiled slyly, and seeing the man blushing, which was visible even with the mask, she burst into laughter. Just think, one of the most popular men in the village and a lover of Jiraiya books is blushing because I said that word. No, just think about it, Yamada rolled her eyes, already stomping next to Kakashi. Well, it's no less strange to see one of the village's eligible brides sadly gazing at wedding dresses, Hataki retorted, having calmed down, and this isn't a date. Too bad, sighed Suzumu, but then smiled, by the way, it seems that Naruto has settled in here quite well. But I didn't protect our Naruto, the smile immediately disappeared from the Jinchuriki's face, and about an enviable bride, that's clearly not about me. Few people in the village know me. Speaking of Naruto, Kakashi continued to reason, ignoring the remark about an enviable bride. Tsunade-sama said that perhaps she could create a small crack that would allow us to contact our Naruto. But we'll need the help of ANBU. My help? The woman asked again, raising an eyebrow in surprise. What help can I provide? I don't know how to create any temporary seals. You don't know how? Kakashi smiled, really? Remember that technique and think again whether you can or not. Remember the chakra of that portal. Yondaime Hokage time. Konohagakure. Day. You don't want to tell me anything? Keen hissed, sitting down next to his brother. Where have you been all this time? Mom is going crazy at home, and Dad is ready to rage and throw. And all because of you. I can't have secrets from you? Naruto hissed. Please, Kin, mind your own business. The third trio. Namake's Naruto, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke. Iruka said loudly and clearly, looking expectantly at the class, go to the board. Naruto exhaled loudly and squeezed between his sister and the desk, going out into the passage between the rows, where his future, as Naruto realized, teammates were already making their way. Your task, Iruka continued in the meantime, is like the other groups, to create a shadow clone. Better, of course, not just one, but at least a couple. Don't overdo it, Naruto, the fox spoke up, under no circumstances use Kagebunshin. If you don't hold back, then at best we'll just be killed. Naruto wasn't a fool. Sure, using his favorite technique was a big temptation, but he really couldn't give himself away. Besides, he knew that no one here knew his abilities, and, in general, he didn't have much hope. Well, Kurama, shall we show them all? Naruto whispered, grinning slightly. Sasuke was calm, his clan was alive, which meant that Itachi trained him and, in fact, he shouldn't worry, a genius is a genius everywhere. But Sakura was too pale. At some point, Uzumaki Namake's was afraid that his friend would faint, but everything worked out and she was the first to fold the seals. There were 2 clones and they were quite normal, to which Iruka nodded with satisfaction and Sakura, smiling happily, went behind the guys. Sasuke also created a couple of good clones and also received an affirmative nod from Iruka, like, well done, you passed everything. When it was Naruto's turn, the teacher's face suddenly changed, and laughter spread throughout the class. The son of the 4th Hokage was neither loved nor respected, and the teachers had long ago abandoned him, turning a blind eye to the boy's studies. Uzumaki smiled bitterly and decided at all costs that he would certainly change Naruto's opinion about this, while his friends in his world trained his double well enough. Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto made seals and 3 absolutely identical clones appeared in front of Iruka and the whole suddenly silent class. The teacher nodded in surprise, letting the children go to their seats. Hey, Naruto, Sasuke called to him, good job. Glad there won't be any weaklings on our team, he smiled, sitting down in his seat. Naruto smiled back, rising to his surprised sister. Commentary on stop. Start of exams. Part 2. Hello. Sorry that the chapter is short and practically meaningless, but damn, I haven't written anything about Naruto for almost 2 years and haven't posted a sequel. It's very difficult to write about those characters with whom I stopped communicating immediately after the end of the manga. It's very difficult to write in general, even though I had a little practice. I want to thank you all for waiting so long and ask for forgiveness for the same. Yours, Kakashi. Stop. Exams begin. Kakashi and Suzumu's story. Part 1 Yondaime Hokage time. Konohagakure. Day. Naruto, like his future teammates and many other guys, had been sitting in the heat for an hour now, waiting for their turn. The sun was mercilessly beating down, and Iruka-sensei still couldn't get the other class to quickly clear the school's training grounds. "Kami-sama-e," Sakura drawled, literally leaning on Naruto, "why is it so hot?" Naruto didn't answer, he just nodded weakly and tried not to faint. In that world, they weren't held like that during the exam. There were far fewer of them than in this episode. And that meant one thing, the battle for the title of genin would be much tougher. The boy groaned and leaned back, crashing his back into the back of the small bench on which the boys had settled down. Sakura, as if glued to Uzumaki Namikaze, fell back with him, and Sasuke, who was sitting on Naruto's right hand, only grumbled discontentedly, trying to take his place in the shade again so that the nasty sun would not touch him in any way. "Naruto oh," Sakura spoke up again, "how did you make 3 clones? You used to have a hard time making even one." "It's a company secret, Sakura-chan," the boy muttered lazily, feeling his t-shirt stick to the bench, "what does it matter?" "Isn't that all?" Sasuke responded, "I'm interested too." "And your sister will jump out of her pants now, trying to hear what we're talking about. But if you want to hide it from her, then it's better to tell her some other time." "Thank you for understanding, Sasuke," Naruto smiled sadly, "if we don't end up here, I'll definitely tell you." "First pair," Iruka finally announced. "Cheiji, Shikamaru, you go ahead, Ino, stand with the guys and wait until I call." Naruto studied his friends idly. How strange, he thought, that no one is afraid of me here. I have parents and a sister, I have friends, but I don't feel happy. I don't feel anything that could compare to that life. My best friend here is not a mad avenger, he is not trying to compete with anyone, he is not burdened with feelings of hatred. This Naruto does not want to become Hokage, but I do. And I hope that while he is there, Kakashi-sensei and Sakura-chan will make him like me. Godame Hokage time. Konohagakure. Day. And what will my task be? Suzumu asked once again, finishing her 3rd cup of green tea. No need to rush, Kakashi sat opposite the woman, resting his cheek on his hand. Come home, sit, think, remember what kind of chakra the portal has, maybe you'll come to what element or who made it. You've already come to this, haven't you? Yamada called the waitress over and asked for a bottle of sake and 2 cups. I wasn't planning on drinking today, Kakashi chuckled. You don't have to drink, she shrugged and began to stare at the table in front of her. An awkward silence followed, which no one dared to break. Suzuma kept thinking about what she had missed that night, but what Kakashi had noticed while in the village. However, her thoughts were becoming more and more confused and she could not put them into order. With a heavy sigh, the woman turned to the window, carefully peering into the noisy streets of Konoha. So what were you saying about dresses? Kakashi finally spoke, looking closely at Suzuma. Well, you see, she muttered, there are dresses, but no husband. They fell silent again, Suzumu was still looking out the window, and Kakashi was lost in his own thoughts. You know, Yamada finally couldn't stand it, turning sharply to the man, have you ever wondered why I'm telling you all this? Are we friends? Hataki raised his eyebrows in surprise. Suzuma took a deep breath, as if she was about to tell Kakashi everything she thought, but then, as if suddenly changing her mind, she fell silent, turning to the approaching waitress. They brought the sake, she stated and, without waiting for the girl to place the order on the table, grabbed the bottle and, uncorking it, poured herself a full cup. Having drained it in one gulp, she smiled at the dumbfounded girl and poured herself another. Kakashi watched in silence as Suzuma rapidly became drunk. He had seen this happen to his comrades many times, but the women he knew always drank very little or not at all, trying to please him. Suzumu had never drunk before. Not with him, not with anyone else. Not at all. Suzumu, he called when the tipsy woman suddenly became too relaxed, hey, that's enough. Let's just pay and go. You know what? Suzumu looked straight at Kakashi, I don't want to be a burden, I don't want to be an ANBU. I don't want to be a shinobi, she blinked and Kakashi could have sworn he saw tears glistening in the corners of her eyes. I just want to be a woman, she closed her eyes and sighed heavily. Kakashi was silent. Silent for so long that Suzuma managed to drink another quarter of the bottle, silently swallowing her tears. Suzumu, the man finally spoke, you are one of my strongest friends and one of the strongest shinobi in the village. And everyone makes mistakes. You have never been a burden. Suzumu Yamada looked at him with big, tear-filled blue eyes and didn't say a word. She blinked, bit her lip and looked away. She sat in silence for a minute, and then took a small wallet out of her shinobi bag, called the waitress, asked for the bill and fell silent again, trying not to look at Kakashi. By that time it was already dark outside, and rumbles of thunder could be heard in the distance. "I need to get home before it rains," she finally said. "I don't like getting wet." "You won't make it," Kakashi shook his head. "You live on the other side of the village, and the clouds are very close." "And what do you suggest?" the woman asked, giving the girl who approached her the required amount. "Wait out the rain at my place," Hataki shrugged. "I live nearby." "I know," Suzumu snorted, getting to her feet and heading towards the exit. The air outside was thin. Kakashi walked silently next to his friend, thinking about her words. Just being a woman. That's what she said. And he understood her. She was already 30, and still had no family, only the beckoning cats that filled her apartment during the most lonely and sad moments of her life. Often he saw himself in her, just as lonely, living in a cramped little apartment. And so he couldn't say anything back to her. Kakashi's apartment was indeed small and cramped. A bedroom, a kitchen, and a combined bathroom. Nothing extra, nothing that would remind him that he had a family, a typical bachelor's den. Everything was clean, there was no trash, the dishes were washed, and there was nothing on the shelves except books and photos of his teams. "Do you still miss him?" Suzumu asked, looking at the photo of his team. A grinning Minato, a happy Ren, a cheerful Obito, and himself, gloomy and always serious. "It happens," the man nodded, taking off his protector and pulling off his vest. "I still think that if I had gone with him initially, everything would have been different." "Nothing would have changed," whispered Suzumu. "What is predetermined will happen sooner or later." "You're optimistic," he chuckled in response and went into the kitchen. "Do you want anything?" "Water," the woman muttered, looking at the photographs. Here was Kakashi with his father, and here with Team 7. She sighed. She couldn't get that fateful night when Naruto was sucked into the funnel out of her head. Sobbing, Suzumu sank onto the corner of the bed and cried silently, wiping her tears with her hand. "Here's water." Kakashi walked into the room, in the midst of her hysteria, froze for a second, and then silently sat down next to her and hugged her shoulders, comforting the one who had comforted him all his life. He felt that she hugged him back, but she was not going to calm down. "We'll get him back," he finally said, "and it's not your fault what happened. Naruto is a strong and experienced shinobi. He's an ANBU captain, so he won't disappear. We just need to help him a little." Suzumu just nodded, wiping her face with her hands, sobbed and took a glass of water and drank, trying to calm down. "I wet your turtleneck," she squeezed out through her sobs. "I think I'll survive." Kakashi looked at her and saw what she wanted to be seen. He saw a beautiful young woman, tired, carrying the weight of her clan. He saw a defenseless girl who had to grow up early. He saw a girl who had to kill and see death. Behind whom stood an old woman with a scythe, like an old friend. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, pulling the mask off his face and leaning towards the one whose heart bled more and more with each mission. Her heart skipped a beat, and then started beating again with renewed vigor. So fast that Suzumu was seriously worried about dying right there. Their kiss wasn't passionate, it was just how it was supposed to be, long and tender. There was nothing dirty about it, but Suzumu suddenly realized that there was a tight knot in her lower abdomen. She pulled away and exhaled sharply. Kakashi leaned his forehead against hers and was silent, as if considering his next steps. "Please don't leave me," she said quietly. "I won't leave," the man answered just as quietly, covering her lips with his again. "Yondaime Hokage time. Kanahagakur." Evening. Suzumu Yamada walked slowly through the village, looking at the sky, which was painted a bright orange. There was no sign of rain, which Suzumu was glad about. The warm summer wind ruffled the girl's short hair. My heart skipped a beat right outside Kakashi Hataki's house, and then darkness fell. Godaime Hokage time. Kanahagakur. Evening. Suzumu had already forgotten the last time she was with a man. But her body responded to Kakashi's touch, and that made her happy. Outside the window, thunder roared, the wind howled, and the rain lashed the glass, but they were hotter than ever. Each touch of the man caused a whole herd of goosebumps, and her heart began to beat faster. Suzumu tried not to breathe, to remember every sensation. She tried to immerse herself in these feelings completely, to forever imprint in her memory the taste of his lips, the warmth of his hands. "Where did you get this scar?" he asked quietly, touching the soft, recently healed skin under her left breast with his fingertips. "It's better for you not to know," Suzumu whispered, closing her eyes. "I'll ask again tomorrow," Kakashi replied, touching the scar again. "Now I have a lot more questions."